Hello, this is a little vlog in order to share 3 techniques to happiness. Now, in order to understand how to be happy, you have to understand how not to be happy. So first we're going to deal with 3 ways not to be happy. The first way not to be happy is to be angry. The second way not to be happy is to live in a state of anxiety and fear. The third way not to be happy is to feel like your life has no meaning and no purpose. And that's the 3 things that we're going to discuss. Let's deal with anger. Now, where does anger come from? Anger always comes from dashed expectations. For example, if I go into a shopping mall and they don't give me anything, I'm not upset. I'm not angry because they didn't expect anything. But if they happen to be handing out chocolate bars to everybody and they single me out and they say, no, you may not have a chocolate bar because we don't like you, that makes me angry because I'm entitled to the chocolate bar just like everybody else is. In fact, they have studies with monkeys. It's very fascinating. You can watch it. They'll put 2 monkeys in a cage and they'll give them both cucumbers and both monkeys are happy. But then they'll give one monkey a candy and the other a cucumber. The monkey that gets the cucumber will refuse to take the cucumber. He throws a tantrum because in his eyes, it's not fair. Why are you giving me a cucumber when you're giving him a candy? So in other words, in order to be angry, there are 2 factors. The first factor is I have to think that I am deserving of this thing. And the second factor is I have to be singled out and not to get it. And if you think about this, this applies to all anger issues. So to get over anger, there's a couple of mechanisms, but one of the mechanisms is the belief in karma. They say people in India don't get angry because they believe that everything happens for a reason. So in other words, if I'm singled out and it's a negative, that's why I'm getting angry because you are insulting me. It's the ego that's upset. But what if you single me out because you know I don't like chocolate bars? In fact, I get happy. Wow, you're so sensitive to my needs. So you see, anger is not about reality. It's about perception of abuse. And so therefore, if you can believe that in the previous lifetime and everything God does is just, so whatever God is doing is for you. Maybe it's something that you have to repay. Maybe it's something that's a benefit to you. To say that you should get everything you want is like a 2-year-old child. Would you expect to get all your desires? And if you expect to get all your desires, you can't be happy because you're always not going to get something. So in other words, the notion that there is a God, there's a Father that runs this whole world and everything that comes your way is in your interest is the key and perhaps the only way to get over anger. Another very important thing is when you wake up in the morning, you have to read a gratitude list. Every morning I read a gratitude list, and it makes me happy because sometimes life is actually quite good, but you're not grateful. You don't see the goodness. It says any constant pleasure becomes too pleasurable, and you lose the pleasure of it due to its consistency. And so therefore, you have to always be grateful for everything you have. The second issue is fear. Now, fear is not a joke. There was a 500 million person study in Europe, and all mental issues are based in fear. Now, why is fear so problematic? Because the brain has a little almond-sized thing called amygdala nuclei region. And what happens is when we become afraid, we bypass our rational mind, and we're only producing adrenaline. And it's not fun. We're in a state, I've seen, it's terrible, very, very sad, but you see soldiers who come back from Iraq, and they have post-traumatic stress disorder, and they're like this. And when you have fear, not only do you have fear of what happened, but what happens is you have fear of everything that might happen, anything that could occur. So what psychologists say is it's like a thermometer. So if the temperature of your sense of security is, let's say, down to 10, so whenever you walk outside, your fear is at a 10 level. But if your sense of security is at 50, which means you're shaking, you're worried about life, which is what happens to a soldier in battlefield, then you can be in America and it can be in the safest place in the world. But anything that might be perceived as a threat hits your anxiety level at 50. So one person hears a bang and his anxiety goes to 10. Well, that's not too traumatic. The other person, his anxiety is going to 50. And that's why these people have a very difficult time adjusting to society, because anything that's perceived as a threat, it shoots their anxiety level up to 50, and it's a terrible, terrible state to be in. I've actually had I guess, post-traumatic stress for a while, and believe me, it's not something I would wish on anyone. So how do you get over stress? There's really only one way, and it's a Kabbalistic mechanism. It's called, you have to see the good and the bad for the bad to become good. You see, when you can perceive that the bad is good, then you transform it. Because the whole thing is that it's a threat, it's a danger to you. It's a little bit like anger. It's a perception of harm to me. But if you perceive the past not as being harmful to you, but as being pleasurable, as being a benefit to you, and of course, is something good or is something bad? Well, if I have a toothache and I go to a dentist and he pulls out my tooth, the same guy that I would want to kill for pulling out my tooth for no reason, I pay him. So it's all based on perception. So if you can switch around the perception, you can show yourself how the negative is a positive, then you build this perception of positivity. Now, in fact, it's not good not to have any anxiety, because then you have no rational thinking. Unfortunately, you find a lot of the leftists that are too naive. They're like, oh yeah, let's make a deal with Iran. Sure, you know, they clearly state that they want to blow up the world. They believe that when the world will come up to a horse's knee in blood, the Messiah will come, which I heard personally from an Iranian. Let's just ignore that. No, they don't really want to blow up the world. They have no need for energy. They export gas. They're in the mood of nuclear bombs for no good reason. So anyway, not having some level of anxiety, not having some kind of common sense is not healthy. So it's good to have a little bit of anxiety. But that anxiety cannot determine your reality. If you are in a state of fear, everything you're doing is to protect yourself, you're closing yourself off from people because you're afraid of them, then it's a problem. And again, the only solution is try to see the good and the bad. It's not easy. It's very hard. And I may God bless you to overcome it. It's a very, very, very difficult, painful situation. And if you were ever in a situation that somebody should have helped you and they didn't, I want to personally say on behalf of everybody, I am sorry, because we should have been there for you. And last but not least, and perhaps most importantly, and the greatest issue that we face is, like Einstein said, it seems to me that our primary problem is a perfection of means and a confusion of aims. If you don't have a meaningful life, your life feels, well, not meaningful. Having a meaningful life is the most important thing you can do, but it's only up to you. There's nobody in the world that can make your life meaningful but you. Because to make a meaningful life is very, very simple. You have to do something. You have to increase in goodness and kindness. There's so many people that need a hug. There's so many people that need a smile. There's so many people that need advice. All you need to do is stop thinking about yourself and thinking about others, and then implement it. If you please take a look at my book, Kabbalah Love, I believe that I can put a link. So I'm going to put a link down there to my PDF book. In the back of the book, there is a 5-step process to discover the meaning of your life. It's 5 steps. You can take these steps. I guarantee you, if you do these steps, you'll have a meaningful life. It's not even a question. Thank God the course, Kabbalah Love, has helped many people. The bottom line is that a meaningful life is based on meaningful actions. And you have to get rid of the me mentality. So much of the world around us is all about me because the media has nothing to sell. The consumerism market is just about basically telling you to do you. It's only rabbis or clergy like myself that say, no, you want to have happiness, you have to give. That's the way to have happiness. And studies prove it, that money doesn't buy happiness, but giving money away does buy happiness. And we all know, we all feel so good when we do goodness. So why don't we do it? The answer is the culture around us doesn't support it. The culture around us is supporting a selfishness, narcissism, sexual predilections. Unfortunately, there's drugs. There's so much which is all about me that we get lost in this kind of whirlpool, this vortex, this quicksand of me. And there's actually nothing meaningful about me. The only thing that's meaningful in my life is what I can do for you. The only thing that's meaningful in your life is what you can do for someone else. That's how we create meaning. So today, I want you to stop everything you're doing and say, what goodness and kindness can I do for others? And I'll conclude with a teaching of the Baal Shem Tov. In fact, his will, he was one of our greatest masters, and he said, every morning when you wake up, you should ask God. Say, God, please, won't you send someone to me that today I can help?